Something that I have been asked relatively often is, how does an older person let go of items that are sentimental and that you've had for a long time? Hi, if we've not met before, I'm Shelley from Taming Frenzy. And if you're someone who has a hard time letting go of the sentimental items, stick around because we're going to talk about a couple of reasons why it may be difficult for you and a solution that may make it easier for you to let those items go while hanging on to the memories. Many times the older we get, the more certain items become sentimental to us. The loved ones that we inherited them from have passed on, have been gone for years. Or perhaps the events that we received those from, anniversaries, birthdays, whatever, they may be years and years in the past. And as we get older, I think a lot of us go to worrying about, will I remember all of those things that are so important to me? I know I certainly ask myself that question. You know, there's a joke that as you get older, you definitely start believing in the hereafter because you walk into a room and you ask yourself, now what was I hereafter? So yes, the memory issues get to be, a problem with all of us. But here's the thing. There comes a point when we need to downsize, either because we are moving into smaller dwellings, we may be moving in with someone else, we may be moving in with children, we may be going into a smaller apartment or something that's easier for us to take care of, and we flat may not have room physically for all of the items that are special and that are important. And we worry that if we get rid of those things, the memories that are attached and the love that was felt, or the pride or the joy that came along with that possession, that we'll begin to lose touch with that as well. So frequently, fear is a big part of the reason that we have a hard time letting sentimental things go. We also may feel a certain amount of guilt at letting things go. I know I've struggled with this, and I've had family members that have struggled mightily with this. They look at an item and they think, I can't get rid of that. My mother loved that coffee table, and she had to go to several stores, and she ordered one, and it wasn't right, and she sent it back, and she always loved that table and talked about how she wanted to make sure someone in the family took that coffee table. Well, the problem is it's pink marble, and it doesn't fit with any furnishings, and you don't have room for it, but yet you feel guilty because you know how much that item meant to someone else. And you have this feeling that if you get rid of that item, heaven forbid, that person's going to look down on you and they're going to be judging you and saying to themselves, well, you didn't love me after all, or you didn't respect me, or any of those things that we know rationally are nonsense, but that our heart doesn't always know that they're nonsense. There's nothing rational about most emotions, and guilt is definitely not a rational emotion. So we struggle with that guilt, that fear that even if the person who's gone doesn't look down from above and judge us, that other people around us will judge us, that they will think we're not sentimental, or that we didn't care, or that we didn't value those things for whatever reason. And that is often not the case. But yet we deal with that guilt anyway. And then the other side is that fear that we have of our own memories beginning to dim and fade. And we're scared that if we let that tangible item go, that we'll begin to forget all about that. Those are the things I've struggled with and that I've seen most other people struggle with as well. Here is what I have found helps for me personally to let go of the items without being afraid that I'm going to forget about the item or the person or the event, how it came into my life. And that is this. Before I let something go, I take a picture of it. I pick up my trusty little phone, I take a picture, and then I start an album either on my phone or I download those photos to my computer and I start an album there. The other thing you can do if you want is after you download those pictures, you can even print them off. And something that I have been thinking about doing for a while myself actually is to print off some of those pictures, put them in an album, and write out a description of the item, what it was, who originally had it, how I came to have the item in my possession, things about the history of the item. For example, my grandmother kept, I discovered years after my mother had passed away, where my grandmother had kept a home inventory, and it was all of the big things that had been added to their house. This was an extremely interesting thing to look at, and she had listed, among other things, she had listed her mahogany Chippendale dining room set, and what she paid for it, and how much it cost. And those little pieces of history, the prices of things back, in the 1940s, those are some interesting things to jot down, either in a digital file or on a paper file, to keep. And then the benefit of then keeping that in a file, digital or paper, is that then you can pass that file to someone else. And in fact, if it's a digital file, you can make copies and pass it on to several people. For example, I've got 3 grown kids. I could make copies of that digital file and pass it on to all 3 of them, and it wouldn't take up any space other than just, on a flash drive. So those are some things to consider when you are needing to downsize for whatever reason, whether it's because you're moving into a smaller location, whether it's because you're just at the point where you do not have the ability to physically maintain and take care of all of those things, or whether it's because your life has changed, your taste have changed, or your needs have changed. You do not have to keep everything, even the things that were once important and that are sentimental. You do not have to hold on to the physical item because you are afraid that if you let it go, you will lose the memories. There are ways to hang on to the item while passing the item on to someone else who can use it and can be blessed by that item. Give that a shot. See if that's something that will help you. It is something that's helped me. In the meantime, I hope you have a great week and go tame a little of your frenzy.